Hello everyone, I'm Nilab, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to create these interaction swipe animations in After Effects. You can use this animation in your prototypes and product visualization videos. If you don't know After Effects, don't worry, just follow along step by step and I'm 100% sure you'll be able to do it. So let's dive right into it. So open up After Effects and don't think much about the tools here. Let's just go ahead and create a new composition. You can click here or go to File, New and New Project, and then after that you can go to Composition and create new composition. For the width, let's create a vertical interaction swipe, and for the width I'll be keeping it at 300 and height at 1000. It's just the document size, just like Illustrator or any other design software. Now the frame rate, we can keep it at 24 and don't worry about the duration and any other settings. So you can rename your composition here. Let's just type in swipe. Alright, keep the background color to whatever you want. In this case I'm just keeping it white, and this is our document, right? Now what we need to do is create a shape. Ideally the swipe looks circular, so we can go to the top toolbar here in the shape tool and take an ellipse and just click and drag. You can hold shift while clicking and dragging to make it proportionate, and once you release that you can have this circle, and if you then scale this and animate the scale of this, you can see that it looks really bad and distorted, and this is not the kind of swipe we are going to create. So let's just delete this and then go back to the shape tool up top here and then select a rectangle tool. Now let's create a perfect square by holding down shift and click and drag. You can change the fill and stroke up here. For example, you can have a color fill in with this. We can have something else, something like this, blue, but in this case we don't want the fill, we only want the stroke. So I'll just click on the fill text here and select none and just hit OK. And when I go to stroke, I can click here and then change its color. I'm just keeping it dark gray for now, and you can click and drag for the stroke width and also click and type the value. So let's type in 18, which seems pretty okay for now. And then when you go back to the main tool, you will observe that the anchor point is centered to the document and it's not here exactly. So if I move it around or rotate it, for example, it will rotate from that anchor point, which we don't want. We want to center it to the shape for now, and for that I can just go to the toolbar here again and select the pan behind tool, or which is also called the anchor point tool, or you can just press Y on the keyboard and then click and drag this anchor point to the very center. Now I have snapping on. If I turn this off and click and drag, I cannot center it perfectly, so I'm just keeping it on to center it, and then go back to my main move tool, selection tool, which is V on the keyboard. Now I also want to center this shape in the document, so it is just like any other design software. I go to the align tab and align horizontally and center the composition. I'll just take it back up here. If you can't find these tabs, you can go to the window option and find align and every other effects tab here. Okay, so now we have the shape in our timeline. We have this timeline here and the shape is called shape layer. Let's just press enter on the keyboard to rename this, and I'll rename this as swipe. Now I'll have to animate this shape going up and down. Alright, and the way I do this, I also want to stretch it out so that the swipe stretches out and then eases in again. So I want to break that shape, all right, and again if I just scale this up, the shape breaks down badly, which we don't want. So I'll just drop down here, and once you do that, you see that it has contents and transform, where you can move the position, the scale, and rotation, etc. But before we do that, we want to go into contents and then rectangle, which is our shape here, and then we have paths and stroke and fill. All right, so before we change that, just right click on rectangle path and convert this to Bezier path, because we want it to stretch proportionally even if we have some rounded corners on it. I'll get to that in a minute. Just convert this to Bezier path, and then you see a little button here which adds more effects to this. So just click on this and create round corners, and then you can drop down the round corners value and start increasing it, and you can see that the shape here is now circular. So I'm just rounding out the corner so much that the rectangle becomes a circle. All right, so maybe I'll just put in 100 here, which might be perfect, or you can just fine tune this to your liking. All right, now if I go back to selecting the rectangle, the whole thing, and stretch it out, it still stretches a bit weirdly because it is stretching in both the directions, and we don't want that. Remember when we created this to Bezier path? Now what we want to do is select only the bottom two corners, and to do that we have to select the paths first and then again drag and select the bottom one. Now you can see that I have only selected this corner, and then I'll hold shift and select the bottom left as well. Now when I stretch them out, I can very geometrically and proportionally scale it down, and this is the shape that we want. And that's how our shape is ready for animation. Now we can actually go and key the path and start animating. Alright, so keying the path means recording its position in the timeline. For example, if I just press plus or minus in the keyboard, I can zoom in and out in the timeline, and you can see the frames here. Alright, so I'll just key the path, the entire path, all the four corners on the first frame, the 0 frame, and then maybe perhaps I go to the 8th frame, select the path again, select the bottom two corners, and then drag them down. So this becomes our swipe, the entire swipe. Alright, and now you can see that another key is automatically set here, and this is animated. So if I press space bar, you can see the animation happening. Alright, now all I have to do here is play with the animation and animate the end part of the same. Alright, so when we have this going to the end, I have to bring the top two here as well, but just delay that a little bit. So we already have the key set here. I'll just go back and select the top two and go a little bit further than where these bottom two corner animation ends, and then bring this down again until it becomes a circle. So you have to kind of eyeball this and create this as a perfect circle. Now you can see, I'll just bring this down a little bit. Now you can see that this shape comes here, and then the back part follows. I can move the middle key, the end key, just to retime the animation and play around with this to make it perfect. Alright, and I can just drag and select all of them and press F9 on the keyboard, or just select it, go to keyframe assistant and press easy ease, so it eases out of the position and eases into the end position. Now I can just end this animation here, so I'll just go to the last frame, press Option or Alt on Windows and press the right bracket tool to end this shape animation here itself. Okay, so it appears, the swipe is animated, and then it leaves. Now we also can animate the opacity of this, so I'll just move these keys one frame to the right, increase this length a little bit, and key the opacity which is in transform, or you can just press T on the keyboard and key this opacity. So it is 0 at the start, and then appears in one frame, which is 100 again. All right, or you can ease this opacity in here, and then it goes back, and maybe key this again and just zero it out in the end. And there you go, our swipe animation is ready. Just press N on the keyboard here at the last frame. So B to select the region, right? So B, and N to end the region where our playhead will keep on playing inside After Effects. So I'll just go back here and press N, and if I press spacebar, this is my swipe animation is done. Now another layer of animation you can add to this is position. So we have the whole shape here. I'll just press P on the keyboard to key the position of the entire shape, and then just go to the end frame and move this slightly down, and just go back and move this slightly up, so that the entire shape along with the swipe moves down as well. And let's see how that looks. So we get a feeling of a slide that is happening, and this is much more natural. So I think it's better to add a little bit of position here as well. Now our swipe animation is ready, and we can just superimpose this on any interaction animation, any UI design, and animate the design along with the swipe. Let me show you how to do that as well. To import the design, just double click on the project window, or just go to File, Import and File. And here I have a mockup ready. For example, let's take an iPhone, and before importing you need to have the screen layer and the back layer separate. So just click on the composition retain layer sizes, open this up. Now if I double click this file, I have the body on a separate layer, the image which will be the screen on the separate layer, and the notch is on top. So I have to put my design and the swipe on top of the image, or instead of that file. So but I'll keep that because I want to make it a mask, and I'll again import another file, just another design, which is a screenshot of my website on phone, which is a long image. I'll just open that up. Let's bring that down on top of the image, and this is what I'll be swiping. So I'll just position it here, press S on the keyboard and scale this up to match the width, and just bring this down again. Don't worry about the corners going out. What we can do is take this image layer on top of this so that it becomes a mask for our design, and then go back to our screenshot, toggle the switch. If you don't see the track matte option here, just click on this toggle button and just do alpha matte image, so that the design is masked by our image file here. I'll just bring it to the top. Well, let's just keep it here for the scroll to work. Now we have this image which we can scroll and animate, and I'll bring in my swipe composition inside this iPhone composition. So just click and drag and put this on top of it, and once this is animated, you can see here that our swipe is animated, and since we don't have fill, we can see through it, right through it. Just zoom into the timeline, and I think the swipe animation ends at around 16 frames. So let's just press Option and write square bracket button to cut it off. So we have our swipe animation here, and now we can just press S and scale it down to the actual size of the finger and have it placed anywhere in our design. So for example, this is a swipe going down, or I can Simply rotate this, press R on the keyboard to bring up the rotation parameter and just rotate it to flip this. So let's say if I type in 180 degrees and the swipe goes up. Alright, and once it goes up, I will animate the page going up as well. For example, if I have this here, at the start of the swipe, I'll key the page, which is the screenshot here. I'll key the position, bring up the position value and key that, and then move this up along with the swipe where it ends, and 2 or 3 frames extra just so that it settles. So let's move this up a little bit and then select both the keys, right click, keyframe assistant and easy ease. So let's see if the timing matches, and there you go. So I'll just loop this, press N to end my playhead timeline, and then keep this on loop just to check. Now to make the swipe more visible, you can either add shadow to it or add more effects to it, or maybe add some fill. You can add fill to our stroke as well here, just to have some effect and visual distinguishment between the screen and the swipe animation. So just click on this fill and let's fill it up with some relevant color. And once you drop down here, you can see the selected color, and you can change the opacity of that fill as well so that the background is visible. So in this case, let's keep it at 25 maybe, and let's see how that looks on our screen. Yeah, you can see some of the opacity here. Maybe we can increase, maybe we can make it 30 and go back. Let's see how this looks. So this is much more visible. Of course, you can change the color of the fill also. If you have a darker background, you can use a white stroke instead of a black one. Feel free to experiment. And that's how you implement the swipe on any interaction design or product showcase that you have. You can just rotate it around to make it horizontal or vertical, going up or down in any ways. You can also export this as a GIF with transparency or as a MOV. You can also export this as MOV file to be dragged into any composition, any video composition, even in other softwares. So MOV retains alpha values, so only the swipe animation will be exported but not the background. Let me show you how to do that. Just go to your composition, have the range selected from start to end, the B and the N key, go to composition, add to render queue, go to the output module here, the lossless word, click on it, go to format options, and you can select any Apple ProRes or animation. I'll just keep it at animation for now, but make sure you select RGB plus alpha so that the white background doesn't export in your output. After selecting RGB plus alpha, just click OK, select where you want to save the file, click save and hit render. Now you can just drag and drop this MOV file with alpha in any editing software and just drag and drop on any animation, and that video file will work with transparency. So I have hidden the original animation and this is just my MOV file and it works perfectly. I hope this was helpful. For more such videos on design and animation, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.